playoffs. It is playoff time. This is game number 1, round of 8, is it? Yes, the round of 8. So after this, the losers are out. The winners go on to the round of 4, and then the winners of that go on to the finals to play each other. We'll see who makes it through. It's been an incredible tournament so far, so super excited, super happy that everyone got so many games played and was so positive with the tournament. Obviously, there's kinks that happened along the ways and lots of things we'd love to do a little bit better. And that's what Season 2's for. And honestly, what we're going to be doing is putting out a little questionnaire for those participants, maybe even some of the viewers, to fill out to see what they liked, what they didn't like, and see if we can make a tournament rule set or a league rule set for next season to shake things up. Now, in the playoffs, the big thing that changes here is all of the maps are pre-selected. There are no home maps, which means quite a bit. We selected them with a couple of criteria as well. So that means that we're not going to see a lot of the same games going on through the series. So if you lose a game on a certain map, that is can end up being a big problem for you, as we're seeing Joe picking Odin here, grabbing up to these elk. A little bit of a strange thing considering he's been going through Egyptian this entire tournament long. So we do have one of those special Bill Gregg open maps. If you're not aware of what those maps are, they are the maps made by Keen Flame. We've got a couple of them. Some of them we excluded because we didn't feel like they sort of fit into the natural flow of the game, and decided it would be a better idea to stick with something a little bit more normal in these games to give everyone the best chance to win and create really good games. If you ever play on those unique maps, oftentimes they can be really one-sided because one player doesn't understand those maps as much as the other player, and then they just get dominated. Whereas if the game was relatively normal, the games may have been closer or more interesting. Anyways, that's enough about the rule set here. These players, though, Joe coming first in his division, just defeating all competition, only dropping one game, I believe, to the player known as I Kill, You Die. And I believe that was his first game back after a little bit of a break as well. So big kudos to Joe for being able to get that level back so fast and beat everyone. Rido, on the other hand, placing 4th in his division. However, he is playing out of his mind this tournament long. His division had some really close games. Rido could have won against a lot of those players who were above him, and they were really close. So I'm honestly surprised he only got 4th. So this is going to be a tough one for Joe, and we'll see if he can come out on top or not. Ra versus Odin on Frozen Waste, no, not Frozen Waste, Arctic Craters. So the big thing about this map that is unique is this little dip here around the base. They're around all of the town centers, and basically what it means is if you're shooting from the top of this cliff down to the bottom, you do get I think it's a 25% bonus multiplier for those projectile style units. I don't think it affects the catapult or anything like that, but just like your archers, your throwing axemen, your things like that. And the other thing that happens on this map is inside these craters, you cannot have wood. So you can very easily get wood stuffed here. As you see Joe already putting his raven on top of this wood line. He could burn this forest, cut this wood, cut this wood, cut this wood, and it would be a difficult time for Rido to get out things like Shadoof, plow, and pickaxe and husbandry and all of those early game economic upgrades that Rido really wants to do. And now we're seeing Rido go through Bast here, a really interesting option against Joe, who's going through Freya. Hitting the classical age at 4:45, fairly late. We do see an instant forest fire onto this location to push those villagers off the back. There are still 3 pine trees, straggler trees, as they are affectionately known, in the base of Rido. So he will be able to chop that wood down, get some economic upgrades if he does want to. But he has gone through Bast. He's only thrown up 1 monument so far, it looks like. So he's not going for any sort of Sphinx spam, but 1 town center Bast against Norse. You've got to get some value out of it somehow in those myth units, because that Eclipse is super strong. So, now, what can you do if you're Redo here? He's grabbing pickaxe out. He's got that first Sphinx out. He's building a second Sphinx. Do we see an immediate armory? We do not. We don't see any barracks up just yet. Villagers are on these goat, all ready for Redo, and Joe is just powering ahead, throwing down the longhouse, getting a second town center here. I personally think this is the incorrect way to be playing Norse in the Egyptian mirror. I think the real strong way that Norse players have been winning these Norse versus Egypt style games is by going for a semi-fast heroic age, basically with pure raiding cavalry. You make up about 80 to 90 population of raiding cavalry off of one town center. You hit the heroic age at about 9 minutes or 10 minutes. With all that hunt, you control the map, and then you can get those upgrades and go for some sort of gold control. There's the armor coming down now for Redo. He's mining away at this gold mine, throwing the farms down, ready to start raining it up, get that economy rolling. And the Sphinx are going to be looking for some raids. We do see a cheeky wall here cutting off that raid there to allow these villagers to come over onto this back hunt. Herser already over here. We do have Sigmunda Man Hugger. You know, if you want to hug a man, you go for it. It's 2020. We're all a friend of affection. You know, what's that song in the Blues Brothers? I can't remember what it's called. Stand by Your Man. No? Yes? Maybe? I don't know. Leave me alone. I don't know what I'm talking about. And what are we seeing him do? He's not building anything. He's got the armory, so this could just simply be a 2-town center fast heroic here from Joe, which honestly, not the worst idea. It's a little bit cheese. You throw up hill forts straight away and you make Huskal. If your Ra opponent works out what you're doing, you can make those barracks and make some of those axemen out, and then you go from there. You can go through Njord when you do this strategy as well, and that's going to help you push through your opponent with the Mountain Giant plus the Walking Woods, which are effectively some siege weapons for you, because they have that extra crush damage as well. So we may see Joe go for Njord here, but honestly, the safer option is Skadi. You get out those super strong throwing axemen with Huntress Axe for that Skadi unique technology, and also you get that really, really strong god power in Frost, which freezes units. Freezes units in place, which allows you to continue fighting them while they're not doing anything. And the way the game works is, no matter how much HP or armor they have, each unit has a minimum damage of 1. So, for example, if you're full Ulfsark against a 99% unit, they're actually attacking quite fast. They've got I don't know what the attack speed is. Never sure what these numbers down the bottom mean, but their attack speed is faster, I believe, faster than 1 attack per second. So they would do an extra damage on those units versus everything else. So if you do mass those Ulfsark, Frost is a good idea. However, we are seeing Joe going for the medium cavalry. He's going through Skadi, so he's going to be making a raiding cavalry here. And there's the segment for Redo. So going a little bit funny here, making the Scarab. That's going to be able to be used with Eclipse to push onto Joe, who's playing very defensively. He has a lot of Hersa out, though, so they should be able to deal with those scabs fairly easily. We are seeing a little bit of cheeky garrison micro here from Joe. There's the heroic age through Skadi, and we'll see if he throws up that immediate hill fort or not. The Frost Giant's out. Frost Giant counters the Scarab push very, very nicely, and Redo going to be throwing up a Migdol Stronghold right under the face of Joe, just saying, I don't care, man. I don't care. You can come and try and stop me. I'm not going to let you. My Migdol Stronghold's going up. Scarab's there defending, and Joe's sitting in his base throwing up his hill fort. Trying to see if that Sphinx has snuck around the back, but he's just popped back up to the top, and he's leaving that area now. The Raven going to be flying away. He knows where to attack now. He's going to be totally fine. Villagers moving over onto this town center, though. Really going to have 3 town centers very, very early, but the big thing for Joe is going to be he's been on 2 town centers for quite a while, spamming villagers. he's going to have a strong Ragnarok if he wants to go for it. We're seeing Jarls coming out now for Joe, making Raiding Cavalry Jarl. We'll see if Ridu can match this by making those spearmen that he needs to be making. The other thing is, if you're going for mass cavalry here, that counters the counter to Ragnarok. So if you get out a big bowl of cavalry before you Ragnarok, those axemen will melt to your raiding cavalry. It's a weird counter system, but the axemen, they don't have any bonuses against the raiding cavalry, and they will chew through them. You see a cheeky raid over here, picking off one of those raiding cavalry, and Ridu is running around trying to find an avenue to attack the Scarab, and the Sphinx sitting up here may get greeted by the Frost Giant, and the Eclipse gets cast as the Scarab gonna be running away. 3.84 speed, too much. You see the Frost Giant going after one of those Sphinx, gonna be freezing that one before retreating away. And Joe is over here trying to pick off straggler units while these guys are coming in. We see the Hersir jumping onto that Scarab with the help of the Jarl, pushing that one away. Frost Giant hits one of those cavalry yet again, lets the Valkyrie clean that one up. And Ridu looks like he's going to have to retreat away from it, completely wasting that Eclipse attack there. It's just grabbing his third town center as well. And that's huge for Joe, going to give him such a big opportunity to do a counter push. We are seeing this Sphinx here, Cryo Sphinx here, doing a lot of damage here. 19.13 damage per second on those Sphinx there. Absolutely crazy huge. We're seeing get even more damage done while this is going through, but the Jarl, and with the help of those raiding cavalry, will be able to clean this one up. Meanwhile, Joe is going after those villagers like a madman, picking off them left, right, and center, and forcing them away from these raiding cavalry. This gold mine is not a safe place to be if you are an Egyptian villager against Joe right now. And Ridu has managed to pick off a lot of these Hersir. The Scarab's still alive. The Hersir is still trying to pick it off. We do see Citadel Senator coming down onto this location. Meanwhile, Town Center going up for Joe while he's putting all of this pressure on. I'd love to see him get out a heavy cavalry while this is all going on. And he's doing that himself. That's absolutely huge. These raiders become absolute machines against the Egyptian army by getting heavy raiders. Those cavalry don't do anything without getting their own heavy cavalry, and the chariot archers no longer trade sort of efficiently against them because they just tank so much damage and can just get onto them and pick them all off. And now we're seeing Joe eye off this Migdol stronghold, and he still has a frost left, so he can just go after this Migdol stronghold if he wants. Technologically, we do see copper shields coming through for Joe, who's ready to start his engagement of Ridu's base here, going after the Migdol stronghold, going to be tanking a lot of damage. We do see the cavalry getting a couple of kills over here as Joe's not focusing his units too well. The village is going to be repairing this one. Probably not enough to stop it from going down. We do see a couple more cavalry coming over here, but there's so many units in here for Joe, and he's just gotten his third town center up now. So he's getting even more villagers streaming in. We're seeing it's 137 population for Joe to 110 population of Ridu, and this Migdol stronghold will be going down as he frosts this. Those villagers get turned into frost as well, so that's a lot. Oh, well, no, he's only got 3 of them. A couple of them are going to be potentially retreating away as the raiders going to try and chase them down. And that's huge. Now Ridu's sort of cut off gold. He's got 1 gold mine here, 1 gold mine over here. This Raven has just spotted the mining camp go up now, though. So Joe's got a potential gold staff he can go for here. Alternatively, he can just utilize this big advantage that he has to go after this town center and knock it down. We're seeing Ridu throwing up panic barracks everywhere as he needs to get out heavy spearmen if he wants to be defending against this raiding cavalry Jarl crazy army of Joe here. And now we're seeing Joe coming onto this back gold mine. He is ready to go for this gold staff, not allowing Ridu any sort of gold income. You see some units retreating away from this at this point. And Ridu's got a lot of resource in the back, but so does Joe. And Joe is going to be going to the Mythic Age very soon. Do we see a market up anywhere? We've already got a market up for Joe. So he's going to be advancing through Balder very, very soon as we see Age 4 Balder coming in. in. Rido, on the other hand, 95 population, and he's got no Migdols. He has to make these spearmen now. He cannot be making units from that wood, and I assume Joe just traded a bunch of that wood away for gold to buy food to advance. Potentially that's what he did there, which is going to make it even harder for Rido to just trade wood for gold in order to make these spearmen. The Frost Giant has been picked off. Joe retreating away. He can still trade efficiently against these spearmen, given he's got heavy raiders against them. If you check out the stats, 77 HP to 131 HP, 7.7 damage to 9.6 damage. The spearmen do have a 10% bonus damage against those cavalry units, so it's probably more like 8 point something or 8.4, maybe a little bit more. But it's still not enough to deal with those raiders, even with the extra 40% or 20% armor there. We do see the temple getting taken down as well. That's a really smart move there, taking the temple down, preventing any sort of mummies coming out from an Osiris, a cheeky Osiris from Rido, if he could potentially get there. We're not seeing that. We're seeing irrigation, sacred cats coming through, and fortified town centers, a Balder coming through for Joe. Has he started a trade route? He has started a trade route. It's not the best, but it's actually not so bad. If he comes to this town center, it's not so bad. It's in the corner, going over to that town center. Not so bad at all. There's the Balder for Joe. We'll see if he goes for it straight away. He's going to be banking up some resources, it looks like, sitting at 800 food, 450 wood, 893 gold. Rido, on the other hand, still with 1800 wood in the bank. He needs to find a gold mine. He could sneak over onto this bottom gold mine, but there is a Raven already over here. And now we're seeing the Citadel Center getting attacked at this point. And the Spearmen coming in, going to be taking out these Jarls, though. You can't keep taking this fight right now. We are seeing Fire Giants coming in. And there's the heavy Spearmen for Rido. Absolutely huge. But the Fire Giant does a lot of damage. You're seeing him go after some farms here cheekily. But that's probably a little bit more of a misclick there than anything else. We're seeing the Fire Giant just do so much damage in the back. Is he producing more? Yes, he is. More Jarls coming out. More Raiders coming out. What technology? You've got Champion Cavalry for Joe. Bronze weapons as well. And these units are starting to look absolutely terrifying here. And we still don't see any attempt at the Mythic Age. Though Rido is getting quite close there. He could sell all that wood into food, advance, go through Osiris. However, this Citadel Center will be going down very, very fast, and we still don't see any attempted Axeman transition here either, because he knows he has to deal with all of these cavalry units of Joe. Seeing some priests getting built out to try and deal with these Fire Giants here, but it's not going to be enough as this Citadel Center awfully closes. Joe needs to take it down, and he does kill it off. That's going to level the population playing field there, making it 160 to 160 instead of the 170 that you would be having if you do manage to get out or keep up that Citadel Center. So nice play there from Joe. And Rido, in that moment, does decide to tap out. GG, well played by Joe. What a absolute display here. Rido opting to go for a one town center, fast heroic, not really getting all too much done. Late town centers, we're just not going to cut it against this fast heroic from Joe. So a nice, I don't know if it was an adaptation by Joe, if he was going to go for the fast two town center classical fight, or a fast two town center fast heroic. It might have been an adaptation to try and get the heroic age out nice and fast here. Instead of going for the early Raiders. But it worked a absolute treat for him, and Rido was not able to get any of that raw good times going in this game, and he just got outclassed here. I think had he gone, the big issue with Ra is scouting. You have to know what your opponent is teching towards. If your opponent is making throwing axemen, Ulfsark, you gotta make chariot archers. If your opponent's making raiding cavalry, you got to be making camelry. So in order to do that, you got to sort your economy out the right way. And unfortunately, Rido couldn't get any of that. Well, he did actually have the scouting with the Sphinx, but he didn't make that economic adjustment in order to spam those cavalry out to deal with the Raiders and continue in this game in a decent fashion. And Joe just took it really, really nicely to claiming the first game of the series. We'll move on to game number 2 very shortly. If you're enjoying these games, please consider hitting the follow button on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTubes, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next game.